The podcast you are about to listen to contains at least one of the following: strong language, disturbing topics, abusive opinions, generally things that aren't appropriate for little kids or overly sensitive people. So, if any of that stuff's going to get your nose out of joint, this is your chance to turn it off.
Feelings don't matter, so brace yourself tight. He'll lay it down heavy, he'll light up the night. No sugar-coated tales, just cold hard facts. In the realm of opinions, there's no turning back. Listen closer, just walk away. But Aaron had to say it, come what may. Here comes Aaron with the truth untold. No holding back, watch the truth unfold. On the podcast airways, feel the righteous sting. You either take it in or let the silence ring.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of I Had to Say It. So we are going to start out as we do by saying to Josh, Iceman, Jason, Miss Aaron, Mike, Tabby, Javier, Fitz, McShane, El Heavy, El Devlin, El Morte, the guys at the Weather Report, to Billy G, and to Walt from the B-Raw Podcast. Thank you for your continued support. You guys are exactly the thing that keeps me from taking a toaster bath every week. So anyway, I've been ruminating a lot this past week on the current state of affairs in this country, the way the world is going in general right now, the absolute shit show madhouse that it is. The fact that things are being ignored that would probably be better off having people pay attention to them. But we can't get past the petty, divisive bullshit that we are all dealing with in our day-to-day lives. And we look at things like the storm response that has been going on in North Carolina right now and is going to be going on upcoming. We've got another tornado forming that's going to be impacting Florida if it follows its course. And it's looking to be a pretty bad one. So we're seeing the general shit show. Like DeSantis sent a whole bunch of troops from the Florida National Guard to go assist in North Carolina because he said Florida was okay and recovering from what they did have to deal with when the last tornado hit Florida. So now those guys are going to have to get recalled and go back to Florida to probably prepare for what's coming there. Which is a shame because the federal government's been absolutely screwing the fucking pooch on this entire process. And meanwhile, we have all the same bullshit going on. The leftist, statist, bootlicking assholes who I was so frustrated by last week that I managed to title an episode in a way that made a few people think I was hanging it up. And, well, I can understand I'll even admit there is a certain appeal to the idea of just saying, you know what, fuck this, I'm done. I'm wasting my breath. I'm tired of sitting here talking to the tens of you that listen every week. And don't get me wrong, I love you guys dearly. You're all wonderful. You're fantastic. But honestly, if I was looking for numbers, this isn't what I would be doing. I would have started this fucking 20 years ago or 15 years ago, whatever it was. Let's see. Now, sorry, I'm doing mental math now. The first time somebody brought up the idea of a podcast to me, which was originally, oh, you should start a YouTube channel. And I was like, I really got a face for fucking radio. I don't think so. Plus, making, producing, editing videos seems like a lot of goddamn work. And this was before the concept of live streaming was even really a thing. So it would have been recording videos, recording shorts, and uploading them to the internet. And if I wanted to make any kind of career out of doing this sort of stuff, that's when I should have started. It was in like 2014. But again, that's just, it wasn't the way that things planned out for me. And it's not like I'm doing this with the intention of like ever being some big talking head successful person. I think the podcast as a way to support yourself ship has definitely fucking sailed, unless you already come with a built-in audience, unless you're a comedian or a somehow relevant talking head who, whether it be in the political sphere or one of the other social spheres, unless you kind of come with a pre-built audience. I mean, other than like the paid political shills and assorted assholes that are on like Twitter and Instagram and Facebook and whatever, and they have these ridiculously massive followings, particularly with these young cockstains who are and I'm kind of gravitating towards all these assholes I've seen out of all the leftist, obnoxious, retarded motherfuckers that are out here shilling for fucking white dudes for Harris and all the other soy-fed, low testosterone motherfuckers that are out here, generally doing everything they can to actively speed this country into the fucking ground. And meanwhile, pushing all the intolerance, hatred, bigotry, and stupidity that they claim to be victims of just towards people that are of a more conservative lean. Now, if you're a newer listener to the show, maybe this will be, I'm just going to give you a quick summary just of the Aaron's way of looking at things is, and if you're long-time listeners, I'm sorry, you're going to have to hear this yet again, because I know I say it on a pretty regular basis, but my general philosophy is live your best life and leave everybody else the fuck alone and leave the kids alone. Those are like the two big tenets of my existence. Is leave me the fuck alone, leave the kids alone. Beyond that, I really don't care. Live your best life. Do what makes you feel good. You do you, boo-boo. Just don't expect the rest of the world to fucking kowtow to your little fucking issues and your tisms and your fucking triggers. The entitlement and the fucking spoiled nature of man has just, again, it has worn me so raw where I'm sick of these motherfuckers. And I'm sick of the fact that they kept moving the fucking window for like, oh, well, you're just not liberal enough, so you must be a right-wing extremist, and you're a fucking Nazi, and you're a fascist, and all these other words the tolerant left loves to throw around about anybody who's not as fucking just flagrantly delusional as all of them. And anyway, I'm getting myself sidetracked. That really wasn't where I meant to go with this. But like I said, I've been ruminating a lot this past week, and I've been looking at things that are going on in the world, and I've been looking at the disaster that happened in North Carolina and the way the government has handled it, the way the candidates have handled it, the way people in general have fucking handled it. And I have come to just reinforce my beliefs that I've actually been spouting for quite a while now. And if it wasn't for the fact that, yes, this show is listened to by tens of people on a weekly basis, I probably am on a list somewhere, but not very high on the list, And, speaking of lists, there's another fun thing that came to light this past week is that it's been leaked that the federal government actually has a red list of 400,000 citizens who will be immediately detained should military law go into effect. Now, I bear no illusions about my place in the world. I really don't think I've ruffled enough feathers to be on that list. But on the other hand... on the off chance I am on a list that is immediately detained under martial law, all I'm going to say is send bachelors. But I digress. The biggest thing that has really been rubbing me wrong is watching the hurricane response, the absolutely tone-deaf way the federal government has been handled it. I mean, you'd forget this is a fucking election year, which is one of those things, too. I mean, this show, I've been doing this for 4 years now. I started the show in an election year. And it was a really great election because it was a Cheeto versus a pedo, and America lost. I mean, I was never really a fan of Trump to begin with, if I'm being completely honest. The guy made a lot of promises. He was easily manipulated via his ego. But when it came down to a choice of him or Sleepy fucking Joe, I really thought it was a no-brainer. And the American public proved that they had no brains to fucking spare. But I also, again, as more time has progressed, more information has come to light, I really sincerely question the validity of that election. And, call me a conspiracy theorist, call me a nut, call me an election denier, because I am. I'm denying the validity of the election. You want to know who else is an election denier? Fucking Keg Cankles Hillary, who is still claiming that Trump was an illegitimate president because she won the 2016 election, which is utter fucking horseshit. I mean, there's a reason that they didn't run her as a candidate again when they deposed Sleepy. But ultimately, I've discussed it numerous times over the course of the last 4 years that I voted for Bill Murray because I think he would have been fantastic in the position. And he's been my writing candidate for every time I don't agree with the fucking candidates. So, do with that information what you will. But anyway, you'd think there being an election year going on and we're 30 days away from the final day of the election, you'd think the federal government would be trying to maybe earn some favor with the population by, say, rescuing the citizens and proving that American people should be supporting the current existing regime. Because as much as Camel Toe tries to distance herself from the policies of the Biden regime, she was the current vice president. And it's kind of funny because she's been trying to spin it like, well, I'm just the vice president. I can't do anything about this. When I'm elected, I'm going to fix everything that's wrong. Like, bitch, you're there now. Now, one of the things I love is Cackles keeps getting thrown under the bus by the Biden administration. Biden is actively doing everything he can to tie this fucking anchor around her neck. I'm sure the Bidens are not happy that he got shoved off to the side. I know Jill's miserable about the shit. She's basically told Camel Toe she's not going to be his surrogate. She's not going to go out and campaign for this cunt. So I find that just delicious in the strangest of ways. But Biden actually, for the first time in his entire administration, walked out into a press conference in the White House and was basically said, "Oh no, Kamala's been a central part to this administration. She's been right there, hand in hand. We're singing from the same sheet music. Blah blah blah." Like, I mean, it almost you'd have to think he's trying to torpedo her because if he's got anything left in that fucking mashed potatoes between his fucking ears, he's got to know the American people are not happy with him. He's got to know he has not been a successful president. He's got to know he will not be fondly remembered by fucking history. And I'm saying that based on facts. I don't care how fucking liberal you think you are. There's nothing good you can say about the last 4 fucking years under this sleepwalking fucking dunce. And he's been making sure that she is part and parcel tied into this shit. He has said repeatedly he gave her reign to do things when she was the border czar. He gave her reign. He gave her the authority. He gave her the power, and she did fuck all with it. And I'm here for that part. That really kind of made me happy in a very real way. Because fuck that worthless bitch. Things are only going to get worse if she wins. And the people who deny that are fucking delusional. It's the emotional, smooth-brained fucks who are, well, my abortion's my rights, and you'll acknowledge me because it'll be trans violence if Trump is elected, and he's going to go through and he's going to what was the most recent one? So they're saying he's going to go out and, just be out here deporting legal immigrants and slaughtering the babies and whatever. No, wait, I'm sorry. The left slaughters babies. No, he's going to be out here just doing all these horrible fucking things that he's going to be a dictator and he's going to be a fascist and he's never going to surrender power, which is just, it just shows how lacking in critical thought the fucking current left is, because if that was the case, he would have done it when he was already in power. He wouldn't have had to go through and fight and jeopardize his life. And because, let's face it, they've already stirred up 2 assassination attempts on the man. They are not dialing back on the rhetoric at all. The mainstream media, which is part and parcel the propaganda arm of the fucking federal government at this point, nobody with a modicum of common sense thinks they're anything but that. And they're out here using all this inflammatory language and divisive rhetoric and talking about how Donald Trump's going to be the death of democracy and he's going to be a threat to, he's taking away all of your rights and he's going to sign a national abortion ban, which he has literally said if one came across his desk, he would veto it because he believes it's a states' rights issue, which it is. You don't like that? That's too fucking bad. Go read a goddamn book, you smooth-brained fucks. But I'm getting myself off track here. So looking at the disaster relief response, now literally after the storm moved through, I think it was within like 6 or 7 hours, Trump was on the ground in North Carolina bringing relief to the citizens, bringing supplies, bringing clean water, bringing food supplies. They brought something like 30 or 40 Starlink units. Ivanka Trump, his daughter, flew in on a private jet with the entire jet full of Starlink units to be distributed out to the citizens of North Carolina. And I keep saying North Carolina. That's where all the news coverage is. That's where the primary issues are. That's where the hardest section of this disaster was. But it was also eastern Tennessee. But western North Carolina has been the most devastated area. That's where we're looking at death tolls already in the hundreds. It'll probably be in the thousands before this is done and over with. And there's still going to be the secondary and tertiary effects of people dying because of this storm, people who couldn't get their medicine, people who couldn't get medical aid, people who are trapped and slowly dying of starvation because they're not being rescued. Meanwhile, like I said, Trump's on the ground, his family's on the ground. Elon Musk, for that entire region, has literally said, okay, Starlink's free for like the next 30 days. And depending on where we're at in the relief efforts, he may bump it up to 60 or 90 days. Just so these people can communicate. Literally, first responders have said the only reason they can communicate with people is because they have Starlink units in their vehicles at this point that were donated. They were not provided for by the government. They were donated by private individual citizens and by Elon Musk himself and by Trump and his team. Literally millions of dollars worth of aid rendered for fuck all, for nothing. Donald Trump immediately set up a GoFundMe for, which, there's some people say, oh, well, he set up a GoFundMe so people could donate. Yeah, so people could donate and the money was going to actually help, as opposed to donating money through, like, say, Red Cross or FEMA, which are just utterly disgustingly corrupt institutions at this point. FEMA has been a shit show since at least the early 2000s. Since Katrina, they were a fucking joke. They haven't gotten any better. And then we have this fucking traitor Mayorkas coming out saying that FEMA is basically broke. They don't have enough money to handle the next coming storm. And then it comes out that it's because FEMA's been funding fucking illegal housing all across the country for the last couple of years to the tune of just under $1 billion so far this year. But when it comes to American citizens, they got fuck all to say. And then a couple days after everything cleared up, after Trump is back on the road campaigning, Camel Toe comes out and she's like, oh, we're going to make sure all the citizens of North Carolina get a $750 payment to help them get them through this hard times. So, yeah, they're getting $50 more than the fuckers in Hawaii got. So, all right, progress, right? No, oh, wait, it gets better. How do you get this aid from FEMA to help you get through these hard times? Well, you go online and you apply, and if you're approved, they'll wire transfer you the $750. So you're telling a bunch of people with no cell signal, no internet service, no fucking electricity that they have to go online to apply for federal aid, and that's if they're approved, they will be wire transferred the $750 that will subsequently not be able to be spent because none of the places in the area can take digital transactions right now because there's no electricity and there's no internet. So the federal government, once again, highlighting its own incompetence, is very proud of this fact and have splattered it all over the fucking mainstream media, talking head outlets, and all over social media. And the only place it's getting called out is on X. So God bless Elon Musk for fucking providing literally the only platform out there that actually provides free speech. I mean, Rumble is pretty good too, but that's almost exclusively video content, and it's really not doing the same kind of numbers. And that's the thing about this. You got all these leftist assholes talking about what a right-wing extreme shithole X has become and how it's nonpartisan because Elon's now endorsing the Cheeto, which realistically, the CEO of a company endorsing a candidate or having feelings one way or the other about a candidate is not the same thing as saying the platform itself is partisan, because it's not. Because none of these leftist shitheads are being silenced on X. If anything, they still have way more voice than I think they deserve, because in my younger days, I was more like, free speech and discourse and rah, rah, rah. But as I'm getting older and grouchier, I'm like, some of you motherfuckers are too dumb to be allowed to speak. It's not that I, agree that you should be censored. It's more that I think you're a fucking idiot and you should shut the fuck up until you learn something. Because, frankly, stupid just gets on my fucking nerves. Uneducated, I can forgive if you're willing to actually be open-minded and learn. But when you are stupid and you're convinced you're right, you are a waste of fucking flesh, and I really got no fucking use for you. And, that's just... Again, like I said last week, I'm done. I'm done trying to save these motherfuckers who are so convinced, they're so enamored with the stench of their own fucking farts that they don't realize they're shitting their pants with the ignorant, stupid, intolerant, biased, bigoted, racist beliefs that they hold to and champion because they somehow think it gives them some sort of moral high ground, because they are so deluded they don't even realize what rotten pieces of shit they are actually being, because they are the most intolerant, bigoted, hateful motherfuckers on the fucking planet. And they're all fucking miserable. And yet somehow them being miserable is the fault of the people who don't agree with them. It's not that their ideology and their belief structure is so flawed as to deny them happiness. It's they can't be happy as long as other people aren't living their fucking way. When your core beliefs are that weak, that flawed, and that just fragile that they can't stand the existence of another school of thought, you fucking failed as a human being. You are a fucking waste of life at that point. And I'm done. I'm so spent on these motherfuckers. I've got no tolerance, no forgiveness, no love in my heart for these stupid motherfuckers. And again, there are people that are wrong-headed. There are people that are just misinformed. There are people that will eventually pull their heads out of their asses and figure out how the world actually works. But you know why I say things like that? Because once upon a time, I was fucking stupid myself. Anybody who tries to deny that they were stupid at some point in their lives is either delusional, a fucking liar, or still fucking stupid. Wisdom comes from knowing that you don't know shit. It's a paraphrase of ancient philosophical beliefs. The first true proof of wisdom is knowing that you know nothing. Yeah, I don't know shit about a lot of things. I'm not positive of much in my life. What I am positive of is stupid is fucking a fundamental character flaw that's just in some cases can't be remedied. And unfortunately, we've given these people a platform, and we've spent so much time giving everybody a trophy, rewarding failure, rewarding stupidity, and this was not accidental. This was intentional. At this point, the Department of Education, I believe, is one of the worst things in the fucking history of the country, where we have encouraged and enhanced and pushed this mindset to the point where these fragile, worthless, weak-willed, weak-spined, smooth-brained, mouth-breathing, cousin-fucking, donkey-punching pieces of shit are so convinced that whatever they are, and they think it's original thought. They think they're so unique and so original and so cutting edge and so leading forward, and they're going to be the future of humanity. They're going to be the future that makes things better and brighter, because they're fucking idiots and they can't see beyond their own fucking nose to realize that they are being led around by the fucking ring they put through it, and the blue hair dye is just to signify how fucking easily manipulated they are, because, oh, well, we don't want to subscribe to traditional standards and traditional beliefs and traditional this and traditional that, so let's just throw away the last 15,000 years of everything that worked to get us to where we're at today, because you somehow think you're more evolved and somehow better by saying none of this shit is real, it's all just concepts, it's all just a social construct. Gender can be whatever you feel like. It's not, an X chromosome and a Y chromosome, which is basic science. It's not the physiological differences between the sexes. It can be whatever we want it to be, because it's however we feel. And the fact that people have been programmed to the point where they will fucking fight you. There are people out there literally taking lives over this ignorant, delusional bullshit. And it all goes back down to being stupid. Can't be fixed. I mean, some of these people are so fundamentally fucking flawed. They're weak, they're failures, and I think some of these assholes that are snapping is because they have that realization. And unfortunately, they spent their entire developmental phase not building up the natural ability to deal and cope. So all they can do is lash out violently. And again, I don't believe it's by accident. I believe this has been programmed and coded and worked into the educational system to make these weak-minded, fragile ego, easily fucking manipulated clowns. And then, it's, point and shoot. Hey, this is why you're miserable. Go do something about it. You're not happy with who you are. And again, so much of this comes down to self-acceptance, self-loathing, just failing your fucking self, because you don't have any confidence. You don't have any belief that you're actually worth anything without these constant external validations. And these people are fundamentally flawed. They're fucking weak. They're failures as human beings. Oh, man, that's a really big swerve from fucking talking about disaster relief, isn't it? But, so back to that whole thing. So we see what's going on in North Carolina. Trump shows up, hands out money, spent $25 million of his own money on aid for people. I mean, that's not really getting any coverage there. Oh, well, he started a GoFundMe so the common man can foot the bills and he can take the credit again. Dirk. The motherfucker gave $25 million of his own money. What, did you donate anything before you made your post on social media? Before you decided to write your little fucking opinion piece in the New York Times saying that Trump's a piece of shit because he's trying to get other people to do good in his name? Well, what did you do? Seriously, what did you do besides write a self-important piece of fluff while you're drinking your soy mocha fuck-stain latte or whatever it is you're having this week? And, before you go out and have your purple drink enema at Starbucks on the way home, get me a little Starbies, got to do good. But it's like a treat. It's a reward. I was very pious today. I told the fucking straight white male how terrible they actually are. Fucking cunt rags. But, again, I digress. The point being... So, yeah, that's where we're at right now. Biden is throwing Camel Toe under the bus. Camel Toe is blaming everybody else but herself. She's had another interview that was just an absolute fucking abject failure. And again, softball questions from a fucking friendly interviewer, and she still can't answer them. She's utterly useless. She has said some of the dumbest shit on record to date. Gets called out about the border crisis. Deer in fucking headlights. Gets asked about what kind of gun does she have? And, I have a Glock. Most of my career was in law enforcement. First off, bitch, you're an attorney. You're not in law enforcement. Nothing about your job required you to carry a fucking piece. Oh, have you shot it? Yeah, oh, yeah, I've shot it plenty. Okay, bitch, first off, that was the most coached answer for, you knew they were going to follow up about, oh, well, I have a gun. I don't know a single Glock owner who doesn't get more specific than just, I have a Glock, including every hood rat, ratchet motherfucker I know. And believe me, I like everybody else in this world, I have a past. Some of it not so great. Some of it a little sullied. Some of it a little questionable. Some of it might give me credentials for certain aspects of activities and beliefs and things like that that people wouldn't necessarily associate with me, because I am a fairly well-spoken, semi-intelligent individual who carries himself with a certain demeanor. But at the same time, you know, like I said, we all got our past. I know some hood-ass, ratchet motherfuckers, and even they will not just be like, I got a Glock. No, I got a Glock 19. I got a Glock 45. I got a Glock whatever. I got a Glock with switches. It's never just, oh, well, I got a Glock. Yeah, I shoot it a lot. This fucking cackling fucking harpy. I would love to see her gun. Let me see the wear on it. Let me see if the fucking bluing is streaked out from being drawn repeatedly. No. Let me see. Let me look down the barrel with a fucking bore light. Let me see if there's any fucking fouling in the barrel. I don't buy it. But yeah, so Camel Toe doing her bestest to just sabotage her own fucking political run, I guess. And I don't know if she's doing it because she's convinced that she's gonna win regardless of the actual turnout, or if the fix is already in and she's confident in that fix. But every time she opens her mouth on a public platform, she just loses points. Literally, like, all the polling, the fucking gambling websites are now back to favoring Trump, which was swinging the other way for a little while, which is ironic because that's realistically, I think that's probably one of the best metrics for judging the upcoming election, is because there's real tangible money on the line, because that's what the fucking degenerate gamblers are spending. But anyway, so to kind of try and put a bow on this little thing, the final, like, kick in the fucking nuts for the people who have literally lost everything they fucking have from the federal response is the fine print has been brought to light about the $750 paycheck they're getting from FEMA for losing everything they've ever had, their homes, their property, their everything. Yeah, that's $750. It's a loan. It's a temporary loan, and if you don't pay it back, you could literally lose whatever you've got left. I'm sure a lot of people that are applying for it and getting approved are fucking broke motherfuckers who have nothing to begin with, and trying to rebuild your whole life with $750 is really not practical or possible, particularly in today's economy where $750 is like, 2 trips to the grocery store if you're lucky. And ultimately, most of these broke, hurting, suffering, shit upon individuals aren't going to be taking the time to read the fine print, so they don't realize that if they take that $750 from the government and they don't pay it back, the government will seize their property, their assets, and this could all just be some big federal land grab, because they also happen to be sitting on top of like a giant quartz mine that produces silica for microchips and a huge lithium deposit for making batteries for EVs to power the future that these leftist shit stains actually think is somehow going to work when we don't have a power grid that can come back from natural disasters, or even, too many people plugging in their cars at one time if you look at California and their rolling blackouts. And ironically enough, as we speak about power coming back from being destroyed, and the federal government not giving a nickel-plated shit about American citizens, and this being a horrible, horrible play to have going on during an election year, the same time they announced the $750 paychecks to the United States citizens comes in the same week where they give another $8 billion to Ukraine. They give another, I want to say $7.5 billion to Israel. They announced that they are going to be giving $450 some million to Lebanon to rebuild from their disasters. These aren't loans. These are gifts. The U.S. government's giving away American taxpayer dollars to all these foreign nations with no expectation that it will ever be recompensated or reimbursed or given a goddamn thing. But, you get a $750 loan if everything you lost was destroyed in a flood, or a horrifically horrible tornado, or a horrible, horrible anything that might be a natural disaster that FEMA is supposed to exist to mitigate the damage and be a federal emergency management agency. And no, it's entirely different. It's not a huge slap in the face to every taxpayer who funds this bullshit when these ignorant fuckstains in D.C. send billions of our dollars overseas while ignoring the fucking population of this country. And the fact that Kamala had the fucking just tone-deaf audacity to hold a press conference to announce all the hundreds of millions of dollars that are going to be given to Lebanon in financial aid to help them rebuild, while American citizens are still missing and unaccounted for and losing everything they had and being stymied from receiving aid by federal agents interfering with fucking people trying to deliver aid and trying to help. People that are showing up from all over the country with, supplies and resources and willingness to help and put their backs into it and help clear things. All the work that is getting done is not being done by federal agents. It's being done by fucking rednecks with backloaders that used to have farms and shit like that. The American hillbilly has really come into their own in this particular circumstance because people don't understand Appalachia folks are built different. They're going to survive. They're going to come back from this. And tons of Americans are trying to help out. They're donating time and money and resources. And the federal government is literally stopping these people from rendering aid. They have closed down the airspace over the disaster and made it so private flights can't come in, can't drop off the aid they're bringing. Helicopters, privately owned fleets of helicopters, like all individual pilots that had their own places, paying for their own fuel out of pocket, which ain't fucking cheap. Aviation fuel is fucking expensive, people. It was expensive the last time I paid for it for my friend's plane because I flew somewhere with them, and I agreed to split the cost of the fuel, and that was like fucking pre 9/11. It was expensive back then. I can't imagine it's gotten any fucking cheaper in the intervening 20-some years. So ultimately, what we're looking at is good people trying to do good being actively interfered with by the federal government because the federal government is so, again, endured of its own bullshit that it doesn't think anyone else can function with them. But more importantly, they need to reinforce the idea that we can't function without them, because if people realize how utterly fucking worthless they are, which is being highlighted very much so by the response of average citizens going to help their fellow Americans, basically against the best wishes of the fucking government. So it's really highlighting how utterly fucking worthless these people are, which will, if Trump gets in and he has Elon coming in to create his office, Department of Governmental Efficiency, his Doge department, which I think would be fucking hilarious. Elon's going to come in and he could be our Millia. He could just, afuera, get these motherfuckers out. And they have proven with their response to this disaster how fucking utterly useless they are. Bureaucrats are the most worthless species on the planet. They're subhuman. I'm not even going to call them people. Bureaucrats are fucking parasites. That's all they are. We don't need them. We don't benefit from their existence. The only one who benefits from their existence is them. And their only skill is convincing us that without them, we would fail. And this instance is highlighting that is not the fucking case. These worthless sacks of shit are actually impeding Americans from helping each other. And it's getting to the point where, like, roads are inaccessible. The fucking federal government, there's a road close sign. We can't go down this street, so we can't render aid. Meanwhile, we've got fucking a company that is backpacking shit in on mules. Literally supply chains of donkeys led by people on horseback. And these guys are fucking armed. They're not coming half-stepping. They're not coming in with like, yeah, you're going to have some bunch of feds come in and raid our supplies. Because the FEMA agents have been seizing supplies at airports and drop points. And they have been, like I said, they're actively hindering rescue efforts being coordinated by just your average motherfucker with a cell phone and a fucking internet connection that is doing more good than the federal government has done in the last 5 fucking years for the American people. And again, like I said, it highlights how utterly worthless and useless these fuckstains are. But on the other hand, it's also kind of in a lot of ways for like some jaded motherfucker like myself, it's really inspiring to see these people. Like when I saw the donkey train thing going on, that made me smile. And when you got to look at the guy who's leading the pack mules through the fucking Appalachian trails to get the supplies to these people that are stranded and cut off from civilization, he looks exactly like you would imagine him. I mean, I really got to start doing more visual stuff with this show. Just so I wish I could share this with you guys, but just look it up. The pack mules bringing supplies into North Carolina. he looks like the kind of guy that would be leading a train full of pack mules. So I guess that's kind of my takeaway from this whole rant is, like I said, besides, FEMA loaning you some money and taking your property when you don't pay it back because you didn't know it was a loan and you don't have anything because everything you had was destroyed and you're going to be in debt up to your eyeballs for 2 generations trying to rebuild what you lost. My takeaway from this would really be, Americans deep down at the end of the day, when you get rid of all the fucking leftist whack jobs that are so much louder than they are numerous, despite the fact that they want you to think they're a majority, there's not that many of these fucking idiots out there. There's a lot of us that are just decent people out there. And when push comes to shove, when the shit really goes sideways, outside of the parasites and the bureaucrats and the worthless fucks in D.C., we're actually pretty okay. The response from the average person on the ground did a little bit to help restore my faith in people. I mean, it really did. Granted, I still think there's a massive problem out there that needs to be fucking dealt with, and dealt with fucking harshly, because being gentle is what got us to this position in the first fucking place. But overall, I like to think that we might still have a chance. Who knows? If we get through this election and they don't manage to steal it and they don't manage to turn this country into a one-party horseshit bureaucracy that really will probably last a couple of generations until things get so fucking bad that we have to have our own color revolution here and start over from scratch and drag them all out and tar and feather them and make politicians afraid again. There's a chance we might be okay. Cautiously optimistic, but still stay strapped. And I guess for now, that's what I had to say. Thanks for listening to another episode, guys. If you liked what you heard, leave a comment, leave a review, leave a rating. Go to ihadtosayitpodcast.com, sign up for the mailing list, interact with the show. Click the links, sign up for the Patreon, join the Discord. Come and interact, be a part of the show. Buy the merch, support your favorite creator, or support me. Anyway, thanks for listening, guys. Till next time.